Hi, today I'm going to talk about how to open a bottle of wine with a very interesting tool. It's called an AHSO, spelled AHSO. It's also called a two-pronged corkscrew. Kind of unusual looking. It looks like actually kind of like a tuning fork in a case. Take this out of the case and you've got two prongs, one long, one short, and very pliable. And I think the story about the name that I've seen comes from the fact that when people see what it actually does, because when people look at it first time, they wonder what is that thing, and they see how it works. They say, "Ah, so." I think that's part of the story. So, when do you use these? There are really two instances when you would want to use one of these, and if you're really serious about wine, you should have one, especially if you have older bottles of wine or you're saving bottles of wine for any length of time, because eventually you're going to have a bottle of wine that has a cork in bad condition that's deteriorated somewhat over time. Vintage bottles of wine, the corks age, they get moist, they begin to get very crumbly, and if you have a bottle of wine that you've been saving and you want to open it, you're not going to be able to open it correctly with a corkscrew, because once you insert that corkscrew, you're most likely going to either break the cork into a lot of different pieces, or you're going to force it into the bottle. Now, if you've got a really good bottle of wine, and especially it's an important occasion, a dinner party, just a nice evening where you want to break out a really nice old bottle of wine, the last thing you want to do is have pieces of cork floating in it. You don't want to jam the cork into the bottle and then be forced to strain a really nice bottle of wine through a sieve. It's not exactly what you want to do. The other instance when you'd want to use this is if you have attempted to open a bottle of wine with a corkscrew and broken off part of the cork, and you have a piece of the cork remaining. Sometimes what you can do with that is, if with a typical handheld corkscrew, is kind of go in on a little bit of an angle very delicately, and if there's enough cork remaining, pull it out that way. That requires a little bit of skill and practice. These are really cheap, and fit really neatly away in a cabinet with your silver or whatever. You can get them for as cheap as about $4 or $5. Some of the fancier ones, I mean, there's really no fancy one, but you can get them for $15, even up to $30. There's really not much of a difference, though, between the cheap ones and the expensive ones. Probably the heft of the handle, which, over the long run, you want something that's going to be fairly sturdy, but you're not going to use this very often, unless you have a really tremendous cellar of wine. So if you do, send me an invitation. So how to use it? This can be tricky. I wouldn't recommend using this on just a regular bottle of wine. You can. It's much easier to just use a corkscrew. What you want to do is take the long prong, and we'll just close up again. You get the long and the short. Take the long prong and put it between the cork. I've taken the foil off of this obviously already. Take the long prong between the cork and the bottle, and then you insert the short side between the cork and the bottle. Fits in kind of neatly. You wouldn't think so, but it does. And then you kind of rock back and forth, forcing the prong all the way down. Again, it is a little bit, requires a little bit of control. And then you just holding the bottle, twist upwards, the prongs have grasped onto the cork. Now this is looking, it's a little bit, appears to be a little bit more physical labor than you might normally have, because this is a perfectly good cork. In the case of a cork that's been deteriorated a bit over time, you're gonna need a little bit more delicacy to get it out, not as much muscle. So you can pull, twist and pull, and then once you get it pretty much all the way out, you can just wriggle it and take it out. And take it out that way. So you've got the cork and your so. So again, something that you want to have on hand if you have any really nice bottles at all that you plan on sitting down for a period of time. You want to have one of these so that on those occasions when you see your cork's in pretty bad shape, you can get it out without getting wine all over yourself or forcing cork into a really nice bottle of wine.